Welcome to the E.A.T podcast. It's episode number 9. I'm your host, Jerry. Tonight, Russ is not going to be with us. It's going to be a special one-on-one interview with the managing attorney from Blake Harris Law, Blake Harris himself. Blake has become quite the TikTok sensation with over 162,000 followers, and that number is growing daily. Blake Harris Law has offices in a variety of states across the country, and all info about Blake and the law firm can be found at blakeharrislaw.com, or you can give him a call at 833-ASK-BLAKE. Welcome to the E.A.T podcast, Blake Harris. How are you, buddy?
Jerry, I don't know how it could be any better. It's great to be on the show. Great to be on the podcast.
Oh, this is great. I'm very excited for this. So real quick, true story, just so you know. Somebody reached out to you, one of our listeners.
Okay.
And they emailed you and said, hey, Blake, I follow the show, and they talk about stocks, they talk about sports, they're into crypto and some other stuff, and I think you would be a great fit. And you emailed one of our listeners back and said, hey, I'm interested, here's my info. And that person took that email and sent it to the E.A.T podcast email account. And when I opened it, I went, okay, who is this guy? I never heard of Blake Harris before. I'm not on TikTok. And I started researching, I started Googling, and I went, holy cow, this guy has a massive following. I had to create a TikTok page because I'm not on it. And now I started watching your videos for the past few weeks. And I got to say, the amount of info that you put out, the amount of information and education and questions that come up from these videos, it's unbelievable. So I sent you an email, and bing, bang, boom, here we go. You accepted, and we're ready to go. So I want to just say thank you for coming on, and welcome to the show.
And thank you to that angel of a follower for bringing our universities together.
Oh, absolutely. So let me ask you, off the bat, where did you grow up, and was law, the idea of being a lawyer, in the family, or was that something that as you grew up and went through school, you decided you wanted to be involved in?
So I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I went to undergraduate in law school at the University of Florida Gators. Then I moved out to Colorado. I spent about a decade out there, which is where I started my law firm. And then just earlier this year, moved back to Florida. Now I live in Miami, Florida, Miami Beach, Florida. Growing up, I actually wanted to work in finance for a lot of my life. I'd visited New York and gone on the New York Stock Exchange a couple times as a kid, and nothing seemed cooler than working in the money. But as I was finishing up college, getting a degree in finance, I was sat down by a member or two of my family and said, Blake, you're allowed to pursue any career you want, but if you want to continue to come back to Thanksgiving and be welcome to this family, you have to get a law degree. And so I started over for a while, and I gave into the encouragement of being an attorney, which for the first year or so of law school, I really wasn't sure what I was doing there, other than having a good time. But I ended up really finding that I liked it, and that it has been a great career for me. So I have to thank and blame some family influences for getting me into the practice of law.
And how long now have you been practicing law since from the get-go?
So I've been an attorney for over a decade.
Okay.
I started out working for another estate and trust law firm in Boulder, Colorado. Shortly thereafter, I started my law firm, and I've had my own law firm for about 8 years now.
Okay. And you guys have offices in several states and cities. Can you tell us where they are? I mean, I've seen New York, I've seen Chicago, Miami, San Francisco, Denver, Boston. Is there anything else I'm missing?
You got it. Those are where our offices are. For certain matters, we can help people all across the United States or all throughout the world. For certain matters, we would need to partner with local counsel. But our primary office, majority of our team is based in the Denver area. We do have attorneys in several other states. I spend most of my time here in Miami. I do spend some time bouncing back and forth between our various offices, and we service clients worldwide. One thing that I really love about my job is that I get to interact with so many people from different places in the world, from the Cook Islands to Switzerland to Nevis. I was just on call last week with a team out in Dubai who wanted to do some trust-based business. Our team is kind of spread out across the United States. We service people throughout the world, and that kind of keeps me on the toes, which is the way I like it.
So anybody who just heard me list off the 6 or so places that you guys are based out of, that doesn't exclude you, as you just stated, from anywhere else in the world. You guys are worldwide. You will do things across the country and across the world. It might not be exactly your law firm, but you do have relationships in place with other people and firms that will handle something on your behalf if you can't exactly do something there for them.
Exactly. For certain matters, we can handle it in-house. Other matters, we will partner with somebody local to the client. And then for other matters, we will at least try to refer you to somebody who can help you.
Okay. So TikTok. TikTok is unbelievable. And since I first started watching you on TikTok, and I created a TikTok page for the E.A.T podcast. I follow you. That's it. I think I follow you, and I don't see anybody else on TikTok. I'm not interested in it. I understand it's a big thing and it's growing, and I guess I'm going to have to get involved in it. But when we first started emailing back and forth, I would say the follower count was about 50 or 60,000. And roughly in, I guess, 3 weeks or so since we started going back and forth in the emails, that number is now about 163,000, which is absolutely amazing to me that people on TikTok are following you, taking your advice and listening. It's not something I would think, or the outside person, the younger person would do. It's geared towards the younger person is what I'm saying from my perspective. What made you get into TikTok and doing the videos, and where did the bell and the light go on and you go, oh, I got to do this. These videos are 30 seconds, a minute, whatever they are, and I'm going to get my point across, and it's going to drive people to me and get some information out. What was the process and the theory behind TikTok?
Sure. So I've had my own law firm for 8 years, as I mentioned, and we've done a various bit of marketing. I've done a lot of continuing education classes that I've taught. I have presented at lots of different events and conferences. I've even had radio show hosts call to ask me questions about estate and trust type of work. Yes, TikTok, it has the reputation of being for the younger generation, or a lot of people just dancing and doing pranks and goofy stuff on there.
Yep.
But I decided about 2 months ago, and I've been on TikTok for I think less than 2 months that I've been producing content. I decided to get on TikTok for 2 reasons. One, because I was hopeful that it would generate some business for help me find some clients for my business, but also I thought it'd be fun. And I figured if it doesn't generate me any business, at least it'll be fun. And you can't really fail something you're having fun with. So I think that it kind of comes through to the people who follow me, to the people who watch the videos, that it's something different than a kind of stuffy attorney in a suit in a law office. I'm casual. I do share a lot of very valuable information on my TikTok channel, but I also weave in some humor and in some aspects that make me like a real person. And I think that people value that authentic side of my channel.
I think that the comedy and the wit that's behind it, I notice when you're doing that, and then I notice when you're serious talking about the trust and the will. And listen, I'm going to get into that in a second, but everybody from watching your videos, everybody should at least contemplate the idea and make a phone call to you that setting up a will and setting up a trust, if you have assets, is a must do. I mean, from the outside perspective, both of them need to be discussed with you, correct?
Well, Jerry, I'll bring you on as a marketing rep, but I certainly believe in the power of the work I do, and I've met with families who lacked planning or had poor planning, and it ends up becoming very costly for the family. It takes a lot of time to administer a poorly drafted estate plan, and in some unfortunate circumstances, there can be fighting that breaks out among family members because there's an unclear as to the grantor's intentions. Also, people who we can help protect against lawsuits. Some of them contact us in time that we can set up a trust that will keep them safe from having their assets seized. Others of them unfortunately contact us too late. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure, and this is certainly true when it comes to estate planning and asset protection.
Okay. You like I said, I can't say it enough. Your videos are amazing, and to the regular guy like myself, the minute someone hears set up a trust, even the offshore trust idea to avoid assets being taken when you're sued, the the ordinary guy like me has a house, has a couple of bucks in the bank, might not own a business, might not have investment properties or rental income, might not have stocks and bonds and crypto and everything else. The minute somebody says, in my perspective, hey, set up a trust, I feel like a certain type of person is alienated. But you don't make it seem like that when you do your videos. The trust topic for you, when you describe it, seems like it's for the person who has $100,000 home and a little bit of money in the bank. And it's also for the same person that has $1 million in the bank and has a $5 million home on the beach. So is that correct? The trust idea and setting up something with you is for everybody. It's not just for the well-off, so to speak, correct?
Well, first of all, Jerry, from what I've put together about you, I don't think you're a very ordinary guy by any means.
Thank you.
But in terms of the clientele we work with, there's two categories. And if you go onto our website, we have in a special section of estate planning for clients who have over $10 million, but we also service lots of clients who have under $10 million. And I want to help as many people as possible. We definitely have the sophistication, the team, the expertise to handle very complex matters that include setting up tax planning trust, that includes setting up international trust. But we also do a lot of basic estate planning for more regular people, as you refer to it, who simply they want to make sure that their assets stay out of probate. Anybody who owns a home should be aware that their estate could end up going through probate, which is an expensive and time-consuming government process that by setting up a revocable trust you can avoid. And 95% of the time, that's a made-up statistic, but 95% of the time, or 99%, if I'm going to make up the statistics, I'll make them better for me. 99% of the time, the trust is going to cost a lot less than the cost of going through probate, and not to mention probate is going to skipping probate is going to save your family a lot of time, a lot of headache, potentially a family fight. And anybody who has children, who has minor children, you want to be sure to name a guardian. We all have family members who we prefer take care of our children if we are not able to raise our children ourselves. And a lot of us have family members who we don't want to take care of our children if something were to happen to us. So pretty much anybody can be put in a better position than they are right now, whether you've got $100,000 net worth or $100 million net worth.
Would you say that some advice that you would give some people with money, or not even with money, just in general, to not have the people who are taking care of your children to then as well handle the money if something were to happen to you and a spouse?
So that's a very good question. So there's the trustee, the one who manages the money, and then there's the guardian, the one who raises your children.
Correct.
I don't push my clients in one direction or the other. I explain to them the pros and the cons of doing it both ways. The benefit of having a separate trustee and a separate guardian is this is the situation that you passed away, your child has lost their parents. By having a separate trustee and a separate guardian, you have two separate adults or two separate couples that are vested in the well-being of your children. It's more adults you can have in your children's life. It takes a village to raise a child. Having multiple people involved in your children's life has an intangible benefit to it. So, and plus having separate trustee and beneficiary also serves kind of as a system of checks and balance, where the trustee can keep an eye on the guardian and the guardian can keep an eye on the trustee. So for that reason, I think it's wise often to have a separate trustee and guardian. Now, on the other situation, if you are the guardian, you probably will also want to be the trustee, and it does make things simpler. So if you have a guardian who is going to do a great job raising your children, but maybe they're not very responsible when it comes to managing finances, don't make them your trustee. On the other hand, if you have a guardian who you're very comfortable with how they would manage your money, then you can have your guardian serve as your trustee, provided you trust that person. I would say my clients, it's roughly 50-50, the number of people who do separate guardian and trustee versus the people who use the same guardian and trustee.
Okay. Watching your videos, I learned that 401ks are protected from lawsuits until you would start until you start withdrawing money from them. But there are some exceptions with alimony and child support, to name a few. Um, Now, I have a 401k myself, and so does my wife, and some of our friends do. Would you suggest that everybody maxes out a 401k if they have the opportunity available to them, and why?
So not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, so yes, IRAs, 401ks, qualified retirement plans do have some level of protection. And generally, my advice to clients is to go ahead and keep those in place, and we'll set up a Cook Islands Trust or Titanium Asset Protection Trust for the purposes of shielding those other assets from lawsuits. In certain cases, and we'll get to your question in a second, what I will have the clients do is convert the 401k into an IRA, which then through the use of an offshore structure, we can give it farther protection, farther than the statutory protections that are already given to those plans. Would I necessarily recommending maxing it out? Well, I'm going to remind the listeners that I'm an attorney. I give legal advice for a career. I don't necessarily give financial advice. That's something that more I'd steer you to a financial advisor, which I'm sure you've worked with other financial advisors before that you could recommend. Yep. You could recommend to listeners. I mean, it does. But just to kind of give my opinion, it does give some tax savings, and it depends on how much money a client is making. Sure, if they're making $2 million a year, go ahead and max out your 401k, max out your IRA, max out any savings plans you can. If you're making $100,000 a year, it may make more sense to pay down some debt or to invest in a side business. So not necessarily is the best answer I can give you.
Okay.
Jerry.
Okay. Possible tax code changes about unrealized capital gains. How much of a reality is that? And if that were to happen, what advice do you have for people?
Okay, so this was you may have seen this on one of my videos because it really struck my interest, but I don't think it's going to help to you. It would be, I'm not going to say catastrophic because, quite frankly, change in the tax code is good for attorneys. It's good for it's good for CPAs. But it would be it'd be very messy. I mean, to think that each year that you're hodling your cryptocurrency, you have to pay. You basically have to sell a portion of that to pay your capital gains taxes each year. I mean, would that apply to real estate? Your real estate home prices. You have to. I mean, people would be strapped for liquidity. It would change things. It would help bring in some revenue, which I suppose the government could use more of. But do I think it's realistic? No, I don't. I don't think it's very realistic. I don't see that being discussed. What I did think was going to happen, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen anymore, is a change to the estate tax exemption. I was pretty well geared up to see the estate tax exemption drop from $11 million per individual down to $4 million per individual. But that's not even being discussed with the Americans Family Plan at this point anymore. So no, I don't see either of those as possible changes. I do believe there's going to be an elimination of step up in basis at death, which is going to have some effects on how estate plans are done. It ultimately means for families with under $5 million that now they're going to have, not directly but indirectly, an estate tax, whereas we thought the wealthy, the $5 million plus families were going to be paying more in taxes. They're not being hit with any special taxes, but families under $5 million and across the board are now having to indirectly pay an estate tax. So that's kind of my analysis of likely changes in the tax code.
So you don't expect much to happen in the next 3 years, roughly. I mean, there could be a change or two here or there, but you don't expect drastic change like doomsday scenario where everyone should all of a sudden sell everything they have and be afraid that the capital gains is going to wreck their investments.
So
basically,
I do expect capital gains to go up some. Would not be surprised if income tax what I'm saying, and the elimination of step up in basis is going to have some effect. I don't see any catastrophic taxes being passed. I know that the current tax code, when it got proposed, did cause the crypto market to take a pretty big hit. The stock market, where there's a little bit more old school money, and they have a better thumb of what's going on with Congress, the likely outcome of what Congress is doing, they have they did not react nearly as much to the proposed stringent tax code that were being proposed. So yes, I imagine taxes will go up. Will the rising taxes be catastrophic? No. There's other catastrophic things that may happen, but I don't see the taxes being the real issue.
Okay. Opportunity zones. Now, we have a question from the chat that I'm going to address in 1 second, but I'm going to ask my question first. I had no idea what an opportunity zone was. I had no idea it existed until I saw a video of yours on TikTok, and I actually had to Google it and go, okay, now I kind of have an idea what this is. But whether you buy a house and sell it for profit or a stock for profit, you're going to take a capital gains hit, basically, from what I'm learning from you. And to avoid that capital gains hit, you want to invest in an opportunity zone that will defer the capital gains based on how long you're invested in that opportunity zone. How does somebody, the regular guy, go about finding these opportunity zones and getting invested in them? And what should they look out for in them?
So contact me or contact another financial advisor. I'm not a financial advisor, but I have met with financial advisors who actually, since I've been on TikTok, come to me and said, "Hey, we can help your clients. If anyone listening is in the business of locating qualified opportunity funds, let me know. I've got a lot of demand pent up for that. Just as I have pent up demand for being able to purchase crypto inside of an IRA. I do work with a custodian that can help, or I know there's a custodian that can help with that. Qualified opportunity zones are one of the ways of reducing capital gains taxes, regardless of whether it's from a crypto investment or a real estate investment. What's strange about qualified opportunity zones is, it's kind of the way the government does a lot of things. They say it's one thing, it's economically distressed areas, but really a qualified opportunity zone could just be any time that the government, through a lobbyist, is told, we're going to deem this area a qualified opportunities zone, even if it's not actually a distressed community. So in theory, it's supposed to be helping to develop distressed communities. It's really wherever the lobbyists tell the politicians that we're going to deem something a qualified opportunity zone. So they can be a little bit tricky. They can be a little bit tricky to find, but if you talk to enough financial advisors, if you speak with other attorneys who help plan for capital gains reductions, there are people out there who we can put you in touch with, and you can invest in these funds.
Somebody on the chat is asking that they would like to know the difference between opportunity zones versus a 1031 exchange.
Okay, so a 1031 exchange is a like kind exchange. So if you sell a piece of real estate and then purchase another piece of real estate, then you can avoid paying capital gains taxes when you purchase that second piece of real estate, or when you sell that first piece of real estate, provided you roll it into a new investment within, I believe, something like 90 days, or maybe you have 90 days to identify it, and another 90 days to make the purchase. I'm not exactly sure on the number of days, but basically you can change what type of investment you can change an investment as long as it is a like kind. And again, this is the IRS, the government, defining what is a like kind. So if you change from one piece of real estate to another piece of real estate, the government considers that like kind. Now, if you change from one cryptocurrency to another cryptocurrency, the government says, no, that's a totally different type of investment, and you cannot do a 1031 exchange. So 1031 exchanges are when you change what asset you're invested in, whereas a qualified opportunity zone is a completely different thing that merely is a fund that invests in a certain type of investment. So you have to really pick one course or the other, or you could split your money and have some go into a 1031 exchange and some go into a qualified opportunity zone, but you're not going to do a 1031 exchange into a qualified opportunity zone. That's not kosher.
Gotcha. So cryptocurrency, there was a report over the weekend that DeFi 100 coin, their website posted a message saying basically we scammed you guys and we took off with $32 million in funds. And it was later determined that that was a site hack and it's not real from what I'm reading. And it just brings up this question for me, and you're involved. I've seen you put out videos on Bitcoin and Doge and some other things. How does the idea of a scam exit someone's mind when you see something like this happen? And the idea of crypto being a scam, unless some celebrity voice like Elon, Chamath, Mark Cuban, Dave Portnoy being behind it, How do you look at these people and the influencers behind it? And should anyone only invest in something that a big person is pushing? Or are there other legit cryptos that you're okay with that you don't hear that much about?
Okay, so there's only two cryptos that I've bought any sizable amounts of. Um, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Again, I'm not making investment recommendations, but I am very bullish on both of them. I posted a video that I think Bitcoin could get to $1 million per coin if you compare it to the market capitalization of other major currencies, not if you compare it to the market cap of Microsoft or Tesla. And I think Ethereum has the power to go on beyond even the size of Bitcoin. And these in the prediction of the coin getting to of Bitcoin getting to $10 million per coin is more of a 10-year prediction. Definitely not something that I could possibly see happening in the next 2 years. So with that being said, there are other coins that will outperform Bitcoin, that will outperform Ethereum. And if you really want to dive into that, you can research it. You can study it. There's no really insider information issue with cryptocurrency the way there is with being in the stock market. So if you can find out good information about a potential coin, you can get much better returns than Bitcoin and Ethereum. I would say possibly look into investing in crypto hedge funds. These people spend all their time researching coins, and you want to make sure that whatever the next Bitcoin is, you are exposed to. As far as what these celebrities are saying, I mean, anybody who gets too big, I am very skeptical of. The Pope recently tweeted something about moving away from technology that burns too much energy. We saw headlines that China bans cryptocurrency. We saw the same headline last year. We saw the same headline the year before that. And we're going to see it again next year. I would not follow the super celebrity influencers. I think there are good crypto influencers out there worth paying attention to who shoot straight. But I think Elon, he's not going to invest in Bitcoin because it's not eco-friendly. Was the biggest lie that, well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go to say it's the biggest lie he's ever told, but it was clear. It was nonsense. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be cursing on your podcast, but it was complete nonsense. He knew about the environmental effects of Bitcoin. Yes, Bitcoin does consume a bit of energy, but if you compare it to fiat money and what it costs to running the banking system, Bitcoin is the green alternative. Elon was intimidated into saying what he said, and so I think he's lost a lot of credibility by coming out against Bitcoin a month after he bought into it and started pushing it. And I imagine at some point Tesla will flip once whoever is overpowering Elon allows him to do that, allows him to accept Bitcoin again. So I wouldn't worry too much about what the celebrity influencers say. The super slow.
You posted a message on TikTok, a video that your firm is accepting Dogecoin. Is that still happening, and has that been a successful thing for you guys?
I'll acknowledge I've been told that I'm good at marketing, and it was something to catch onto the market. I have we have been paid in various cryptocurrencies. We've been paid in Bitcoin. We've been paid in Ethereum. We have not yet been paid in Doge, but it's still a liquid currency that we would be willing to accept.
Okay. And I know you're not a financial guy, but we do have CEOs of companies on our show, and we do talk stocks, whether it's OTC, NASDAQ, Dow. We do dabble. And I'm just curious on your personal, if you can get personal for a second, what stocks do you own, if you could tell us, or what stocks do you love that you think is something that's going to be big that might not be as big now, like the Apples and the Teslas and something? Do you have a secret for us that you could tell us that would be something you're invested in or looking to invest in?
And I don't mind the personal questions, but as far as my stock portfolio is concerned, it's nothing that I really get too excited about. We've got retirement plan set up where some of it's managed by a financial advisor, but I think the more exciting investments are definitely in the cryptocurrency. But even more than cryptocurrency, if you're looking for an investment opportunity, and I mentioned this in some of my TikTok videos, the best investment you can probably make is in yourself. And I invest heavily back into my business. For the age of our firm, the business does a lot of revenue, and I'm constantly pouring it back into making our law firm the best it can be. I hire what I believe are some of the best attorneys. I make sure that our clients are having the best experience. I spend a lot of money talking to experts in the industry about ways to put our clients in a better position, about how to get our brand out there, about just gaining information that you're not going to be able to find just by reading online. So there's quite a few different ways of investing beyond the stock market where I think you can get better returns. And I think the best investment you can make is in yourself. So nothing real sexy on the stock market side to add.
Okay. So my last question for you, is this, your business is getting big, it's growing. And is there something that you guys don't offer that you're looking to get involved in and bring some people in and expand the business with?
So is there something that we don't offer that we're looking to expand our business in? So as far as what our firm does, we do estate planning, we do asset protection, which is in part offshore trust. We do business planning, startups, venture capital, private equity, fund formation, hedge fund formation, as well as various different types of cryptocurrency work, from initial coin offerings to SEC regulation. If the team is growing, and if you're looking to join a law firm, feel free to shoot me a resume, Blake at BlakeHarrisLaw.com. Is there any particular area that we are wanting to get into that we're not in? One thing that I would discuss a little bit with one of my partners, with my business partner, that I think would be kind of interesting. And I hadn't really dug too into this, but just because it's kind of cool and fun, would be getting to crypto lobbying, Bitcoin lobbying. I just posted a video today talking about how Bitcoin's not going to be going anywhere because there's people who hold so much Bitcoin, which can be said the same is true, for example, for the tobacco industry. Some people hate cigarettes and think we could get rid of cigarettes, but cigarettes make so much money that it's not going anywhere. The same should be and is true for cryptocurrency as well. I'd love to serve as the liaison between some wealthy individuals and the government, and helping to ensure that cryptocurrency is not only stays, but stays in a way that is profitable and regulated properly, regulated in a way that encourages growth in the industry. Crypto is not just a good investment; it's a very useful tool. I mean, if you brought up the idea 20 years ago, 25 years ago, being able to do international transactions without the need for a bank and do them almost instantaneously, people would have thought you were from a different planet. So it's definitely something that that's something that I think would be fun. And it's like I said, when I started TikTok, it's a lot of what drives my decisions. Am I going to enjoy this? Is this going to be fun? Is this something I add value for a client? So that's something that maybe at some point my firm will explore more.
Okay. Blake, I want to thank you for coming on the show. You are by far the biggest, as far as in terms of a following, the biggest guest we've had in the 9 episodes that we've done. And I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for the advice you've given us. Thank you for everything. You can find Blake on TikTok at Blake Harris Law. You can find his website at BlakeHarrisLaw.com. And if you want to call Blake with any questions or need any advice, you can call him at 833-ASK-BLAKE. Blake Harris, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Jerry, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Please stay in touch.
Thank you very much, Blake. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Blake Harris, by far the biggest guest we've had on the show. Over 160,000 TikTok followers. I want to thank the listener that reached out to Blake and reached out to me to get this going, because it worked out unbelievably. Blake's videos are definitely something on TikTok you have to check out if you're not following him. He gives great advice, and it's not just for someone who's rich, like you heard him say here. It's for the regular guy, just like me, just like you. It's definitely someone to follow. And if you're not on TikTok, get on there and follow him because it's definitely worth it. All right, now we're going to discuss sports for a few minutes. I just want to get to the Major League Baseball roundup here. The AL East, you got the Red Sox continuing their lead of the division. You got the Rays and Yankees right behind them. You got the AL Central. You have the White Sox with a nice 26-19 record. You have Cleveland right behind them. The AL West, nothing major going on. You have Oakland 28-20. You have in the NL East, the injury-plagued Mets. They are making it work at 21-19 to lead the division, but all teams are just about 2.5 games behind. Not a strong division. I would say the only team that is making the playoffs out of this division is going to be the division winner. You're not going to get a wild card out of here, I don't think. In the Central, you have St. Louis at their top position as usual. In the NL West, which is definitely the wild, wild West, you have San Diego holding a 30-17 record. The Dodgers now, though, since getting Pujols, have won 7 in a row and are at 29-18. Don't count out San Francisco as well. The Bay Area boys sit at 28-19. And of course, Russ isn't here tonight, but again, another no-hitter in baseball. Corey Kluber for the Yankees threw the 6th no-hitter in baseball against the Texas Rangers of the day. It is the first no-hitter by the Yankees since David Cohn threw a perfect game in 1999. On to the NHL playoffs. Going into the second week now, we already have 2 series that are over. Colorado and Boston have both made quick work of St. Louis and Washington. Coming out of that Washington series now, I guess the big question is going to be, what does Alex Ovechkin do? He's won a cup. He's a free agent. Does he remain in Washington, or is he going to explore something else, maybe in a bigger city or a smaller city, something of personal preference, or maybe even go back to Russia? Definitely something to look into and see. He is chasing the Gretzky all-time scoring record, though, for goals. I don't think he's leaving the NHL. That's just my personal opinion. The first ever Florida rivalry between Tampa and Florida. You have Tampa Bay handling the Panthers quite easy in a 3-1 lead. Carolina and Nashville tied up at 2. The Penguins and Islanders, they're tied up at 2 as well. Vegas continues to roll. They are up 3-1 on Minnesota. And up north, you have the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens. The horrible incident that happened with John Tavares and Toronto, where now he's concussed. He's going to be out for at least 2 weeks. If you didn't see the replay on this, just a bad position he got put into on accident, and definitely wasn't intentional. And we do hope the best for him coming out of this. Also, in the other Canadian series, you have Winnipeg with a 3-0 lead on Edmonton. And that game last night was a 4-1 lead for Edmonton late, or in the third. And you had Winnipeg come back and tie it up and then win it in overtime. I posted last night on the E.A.T Twitter page. You have Jack Eichel in Boston. You have Connor McDavid in Edmonton. At what point do these two guys demand trades? And I'm sure the Eichel one is coming this offseason. But these two guys are definitely going to be demanding trades with the lack of playoff appearances for Eichel and the lack of playoff success for McDavid. Those two guys getting moved are going to be earth-shattering major moves when and if they happen. On to the NBA real quick. The New York Knicks returned to the Garden with playoff basketball last night, and it was an unbelievable, crazy environment. Trae Young is now public enemy number 1 in New York City, and Atlanta did win the game 107-105. Philly held the Wizards in check and won 125-18. Brooklyn won game 1 against Boston, 104-93. Milwaukee took down Miami with an OT thriller, 109-107. Out west, you have Utah that was shocked by Memphis in game 1. Phoenix got rid of the Lakers in game 1, and Denver struggled against Portland, and Dallas showed dominance over the Clippers with a 113-110 win. And finally tonight, I want to address some of the Twitter back and forth that happened a few days ago. I made 2 comments directed to Ryan Shadle on Twitter. And as everyone knows, Ryan has been on the show, the first episode we had. Ryan's great. I have nothing negative to say about Ryan. Ryan is a home run. He's been 100% real with me and a lot of us from the very beginning. Ryan made 2 comments, and some Twitter influencer who we've never mentioned, never discussed, or never care to mention on this show started an attack and caused unwanted and unneeded drama. Ryan posted a video of shares being retired, and I commented, "Great job, Ryan, the guy who isn't afraid to answer questions and keeps it real every day. Thanks for showing this to everyone involved in LTNC." Then later in the day, when I posted a tweet that the episode that we just did was now available on Spotify, someone posted on that thread asking Ryan what he thought about the LTNC segment that we did with Weirdo and Beardo. He said he thought the content, from a content standpoint, he thought the segment was great, and he's not in the loop, so he's unsure about the limited exposure from Joe. He's not sure if it's intentional or not. He trusts Joe in his ability to assume that there is a strategy or something being worked on behind the scenes. And I commented back saying, thank you to Ryan. Any comment from Ryan, basically complimenting the show or me personally, I'm going to address. What happened next was, I guess, unintentional or taken the wrong way. And I told Ryan it's a fact that he's been 1,000% transparent with us. He's never limited us in terms of questions we could ask him. He's never said we can't ask him anything, and he'll answer what he can answer when he was on the show. And I made a comment that I guess some people might have sent to certain Twitter influencers, and the certain Twitter influencer decided to explode on Twitter and create drama that I don't think was needed between the LTNC army and my podcast and Weirdo and Beardo. And that person had no clue what she was even commenting on. And she assumed Weirdo and Beardo and the E.A.T podcast were all one show. And she actually called it a bootleg podcast, actually. I'll get back into that in a minute. It's true that Weirdo and Beardo have asked her about coming on their show, and they even asked about joining her Discord. She posted a picture of their private exchange. Let me tell you guys, honestly, private exchanges with that person, those photos seem to leak more often than not. Okay? Private Discord conversations between friends and family that they invite to these private chats seem to leak on Twitter, which is comical. It's a bad look when that's leaked. As far as calling Weirdo and Beardo, or even this podcast, one or the other, or both, a bootleg podcast, what exactly is a bootleg podcast? I want to know. Is that a Twitter Live pop-up that comes out of nowhere and is basically 2 voices behind a black screen talking? Because as you can see, I'm on this podcast every week. I show my face. You know who I am. You know who Russ is. And you know who the guest is that we bring on. It's not an act. It's not a pump. It's not a dump. And it's not a joke. And it's definitely not a bootleg. Okay? You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitch. You can find us on Spotify. And you can also find Weirdo and Beardo on Apple Podcasts. There's nothing about either show that is a bootleg or a pump or anything else negative. We are the real deal. We don't joke. We don't scam. We don't deal with the pretend fantasy land that you all live in. Okay? And this is the last time I'm going to address this on the show like this. I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to defend my friends and other podcasts that we have involved in this show because it's the right thing to do. And if anybody who wants to attack me or them wants to come on this show and show their face and debate this with a normal conversation that doesn't end in a Twitter block like it normally does, my show is open to you and any follower you have, whether they're real or fake. And let's not get into your follower count as well, because not for nothing, in the last few days, sweetheart, your follower count is a little sus, going up about 7,000 people. You haven't done anything that specific and that viral to make your follower count jump that much. Like I said, my show is open. You can come here anytime you want and discuss things with me. And I'll even bring Weirdo and Beardo on. If Joe wants to come on, the invite is open. If Ryan wants to come on, the invite is always open. And we can discuss this like normal human beings in a normal forum that doesn't end in a block and everything else that you're associated with. And that's that. Thank you very much to Blake Harris for coming on tonight. A replay of this stream will be available on Twitch and YouTube, and tomorrow it'll be uploaded to Spotify. Thank you to everybody for listening. Until next time, this is Jerry from the E.A.T podcast signing off from New York. Have a great week and good night.